In the bustling city streets, she moved quietly among the crowd, a nurse working tirelessly at the local hospital. Her days were long, filled with the hum of beeping monitors and the soft murmur of worried voices. Despite her humble life, she held on to a hope that someday, her small acts of kindness might change someone's world. She was just another face in the city, overlooked, anonymous, but dedicated to her patients and her dreams of a better future. One rainy evening, as she hurried through the crowded sidewalk, she accidentally bumped into a tall, imposing figure. It was him, the man everyone whispered about in hushed tones, the mafia boss whose name was both feared and revered. He was dressed sharply, his presence commanding, like a shadow cast over the city's underbelly. She immediately apologized and moved on, embarrassed but unaware of how that fleeting moment would change everything. Days later, fate brought them together again, this time in a more unexpected way. She was rushing home after a long shift when she stopped at a small food stall. As she reached for her wallet, a thug pushed past her, trying to snatch her purse. Before she could react, he grabbed her arm roughly, and she cried out for help. Suddenly, the towering figure from before appeared out of nowhere. With a swift, commanding voice, he ordered the thug to back off, his eyes cold and fierce. He helped her to her feet, his grip firm but reassuring. She looked up, trembling, realizing that this powerful man had stepped into her world, protecting her from danger in a way she never expected. Over the following days, their paths crossed more frequently. She found herself working in a hospital that he frequented, perhaps by chance, perhaps by fate. She saw him in moments of quiet introspection, always surrounded by a web of fear and respect. Despite his ruthless reputation, she noticed a flicker of something softer in his eyes, perhaps remorse or regret, or maybe just a loneliness that no amount of power could fill. One evening, as she was leaving work late, she found herself cornered in a dark alley, an encounter that could have ended in tragedy. But from the shadows stepped the mafia boss once more. Without hesitation, he confronted her attackers, his voice low and deadly. When the danger was gone, she looked up at him, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and gratitude. That's when she whispered her truth, her voice trembling, tears in her eyes. "They beat me, I'm dying." The room fell silent. The mafia boss's face, usually cold and unreadable, shifted in shock. Everyone else in the alley froze, waiting for his next move. In that moment, the air was thick with unspoken questions. Why was she suffering? Who had done this? And why did his reaction surprise everyone so much? His eyes searched hers, and for a moment, he seemed lost in thought, as if grappling with a hidden pain of his own. What secrets did he hide behind his powerful facade? Could this fragile woman, battered and broken, be the one to finally reveal the truth behind his cold exterior? And what would happen if she dared to trust him, knowing the dangerous life he led? If you found yourself captivated by this unexpected connection, please leave a like, subscribe to follow the story, and comment below to tell us where you're watching from. Because in a city full of darkness, sometimes it's the smallest acts of kindness that can light the way to redemption. The city was alive with its usual chaos, car horns blaring, street vendors shouting, and the hurried footsteps of those trying to make it through another day. Among the throng, she was just another face, a homeless woman seeking shelter in the shadows of a dim alley. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled, and her eyes carried the weight of countless hardships. She had nothing but her fragile voice and a desperate hope to survive. As she sat on the cold pavement, clutching her side where pain throbbed, she whispered softly, "They beat me, I'm dying." Her words, filled with anguish and resignation, echoed into the night. Suddenly, from the shadows emerged a figure, a man whose presence seemed to command the very air around him. Tall, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, with a cold, unreadable expression, he moved with purpose. Everyone knew of him, the mafia boss whose name was whispered in fear and awe. His authority was undeniable, his aura intimidating, yet there was something about his gaze that hinted at a deeper, hidden world. He stopped a few steps away, studying her with a mixture of curiosity and detachment. Without a word, he tilted his head, as if weighing the scene before him. Her trembling hands clutched her ragged coat tighter, her eyes darting nervously, unsure whether to trust this powerful stranger or to run. The contrast between them was stark, her battered existence, discarded and invisible to society, and his world of wealth, influence, and ruthless control. She belonged to nowhere, a victim of circumstances, while he belonged to a universe of shadows, where loyalty and fear dictated every move. The coldness in his eyes was unsettling, yet there was a flicker of something else, a silent acknowledgement of her suffering. He extended a hand, not to help, but to command. His gesture was precise, authoritative, a silent assertion that he was in control. She hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. Fear and fascination warred within her. Who was this man? Why was he here now? And what did he want from someone so insignificant? As he stepped closer, his dark eyes never leaving her face, she noticed a small gesture, his jaw tightening, a brief flicker of concern that was gone as quickly as it appeared. It was enough to hint that beneath his cold exterior, something had been stirred. A hint of empathy, or perhaps a recognition of her pain. The disparity between their worlds was impossible to ignore. She was a woman abandoned by society, her life marked by hardship and despair. He was a man who held the strings of power, his life a constant game of danger and control. Yet, in that moment, their worlds collided in a silent, unspoken understanding. Her vulnerability, her indignation at her suffering, created an unexpected connection to his authority, an authority that could be both protective and destructive. She felt a strange pull, a mixture of fear and fascination, knowing that this moment could change everything. Would he help her, or was this just another encounter in a life filled with broken promises? As he looked at her, a flicker of something deeper crossed his face, a hint of a story untold, a darkness he kept hidden behind his commanding facade. And just like that, the silent promise of something more began to bloom in the cold night air. A fragile seed of hope, born from fear and curiosity, that might someday grow into something unexpected. If you're captivated by this story of contrasting worlds and fragile connections, please leave a like, subscribe to follow the journey, and comment below where you're watching from. Because in a city of shadows, sometimes the smallest glance can reveal the start of something extraordinary. The night was thick with silence, broken only by the distant sirens and the faint hum of the city that never truly slept. The homeless woman pressed her hand against her side, her face pale and streaked with tears. Her voice, trembling and raw, broke the quiet. "They beat me, I'm dying." Her words hung in the air, desperate and helpless. The man watching her, the infamous mafia boss, remained still, his sharp eyes narrowing as he processed her words. He was a man who had built his empire on fear and control, yet here was a woman, vulnerable, broken, challenging his usual detachment. He took a step closer, his voice low and commanding. "Who did this to you?" His tone was not unkind, but it carried the weight of authority, an unspoken demand for answers. She hesitated, eyes flickering with fear and suspicion. "It was some men," she whispered, her voice cracking. "They stole from me, then they hurt me because I tried to stop them." Her words trembled with pain, both physical and emotional. Despite her trembling, there was a defiance in her voice, an unspoken refusal to surrender to her circumstances. The mafia boss's jaw clenched, his gaze darkening. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said, a rare softness slipping into his tone. "You're vulnerable." The words sounded strange, even to himself, but they revealed a crack in his hardened exterior. She looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and an inexplicable flicker of fascination. Here was a man who wielded power, yet in that moment, he seemed almost human, a man haunted by shadows he refused to name. "You think I'm weak," she said softly, her voice edged with bitterness. "You think just because I'm poor, I have no fight left. Her words were defensive, but beneath them lay a deep exhaustion, a life worn thin by hardship. The man's eyes softened for a fleeting second. No, he replied, voice steady. I see someone who's been through hell. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger than most people I know. She scoffed, but her eyes betrayed her. Glimpses of pain and longing flickered behind her tears. You don't understand. I've lost everything. My family, my home, my dignity. Her voice broke, and she looked away, ashamed. In that vulnerable moment, her guard was down, exposing the raw truth of her struggles. She was no longer just a homeless woman, she was a person fighting to survive, fighting to stay human. The mafia boss looked at her again, a flicker of something unfamiliar crossing his face, a mixture of pain and recognition. I've lost too, he admitted quietly, almost to himself. Lost everything I cared about, in ways no one should. My past, it's a ghost I carry every day. His voice was rough, revealing a vulnerability he rarely allowed anyone to see. His eyes held a distant sadness, a reminder that beneath his cold exterior lay scars no wealth or power could heal. She looked at him, surprised by his honesty. For a moment their worlds, their pain, intertwined in a silent understanding. She saw his strength, but also his wounds. And he saw her resilience, her fight to cling to life despite all she'd endured. It was in that shared silence that the first sparks of something fragile began to flicker, an unspoken connection born from mutual suffering. Why are you helping me? She asked softly, a hint of suspicion in her voice. You don't know me anything. Her question lingered, vulnerable, daring him to reveal his true motives. He hesitated, then stepped closer. Maybe I see a bit of myself in you, he said quietly. Someone who refuses to give up, even when everything's against them. His gaze, intense and penetrating, lingered on her face. And maybe I've spent so long hiding my pain, I forgot what it feels like to care. The words hung between them, thick with unspoken emotion. She looked away, overwhelmed by the sudden closeness, by the unexpected honesty. Despite the disparity in their worlds, the homeless woman who had nothing and the powerful man who held everything, they had found a shared vulnerability. A crack in their facades through which something tender and real was beginning to grow. In that moment she felt a strange pull, fear mingled with fascination, hope intertwined with caution. She wondered if he could truly see her, not just as a victim, but as a person. And deep inside, he wondered if she could be the one to help him find something he'd lost long ago. As they stood there, under the cold glow of the streetlight, a quiet understanding settled between them. Two broken souls, worlds apart, yet somehow connected by their scars, and the fragile possibility of healing. If you're captivated by this story of unexpected connection and vulnerability, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and comment below where you're watching from. Because sometimes, the strongest bonds are forged in the shadows of pain. The dim glow of the street lamp cast long shadows over the alley, illuminating the battered figure of the homeless woman, trembling and clutching her side. Her voice, fragile yet desperate, broke the heavy silence. They beat me, I'm dying. Her words echoed like a plea for mercy in the quiet night. The man who stood before her, the mafia boss, remained silent for a moment, his eyes narrowing in disbelief. Here was someone who should have been insignificant, invisible to his world of power and danger, yet in her pain, he saw something else, vulnerability, raw and real. His expression was cold, unreadable, but a flicker of something deeper stirred within him. He took a step closer, studying her as if weighing the weight of her suffering. Who did this to you? His voice was low, commanding, yet not unkind. She hesitated, her trembling hands clutching her torn coat. Some men, she whispered, voice trembling. They stole from me, and then they beat me when I tried to fight back. Her eyes darted around nervously, as if expecting her tormentors to appear again. She was an outsider, a fragile figure in a brutal world that had spit her out long ago. But now, standing here, she challenged everything he thought he knew about power and control. The mafia boss's jaw clenched, yet beneath his stern exterior, something unspoken passed between them, an acknowledgement of pain, a shared understanding of loss. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said, voice softer now, almost reluctant. "You're vulnerable." His words sounded like an admission, an unexpected hint of concern that made her eyes widen with surprise and suspicion. Was this man, feared by all, really capable of empathy? Or was it just another game he played? She looked up, her face streaked with dirt and tears. "You think I'm weak," she said bitterly. "Because I'm poor, because I don't belong to your world?" Her voice cracked with frustration, but beneath that, a deep-seated exhaustion shone through. She had fought so hard just to survive, yet here she was, broken, discarded, and invisible. His eyes flickered with something, pain, regret, maybe guilt, before he responded. "No," he said quietly. "I see someone who's been through hell. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger than most people I know." Her lips pressed into a thin line, yet her eyes betrayed her. She was tired of the lies, the hiding, the pretending to be okay. She had nothing left but her truth, fragile and raw. He looked at her again, and in that moment, an almost imperceptible gesture, a slight tilt of his head, revealed a flicker of genuine concern. As if, despite his reputation, he was beginning to realize that beneath his cold armor, he too carried wounds. His past haunted him too, secrets buried deep and buried well. "You don't know what's waiting for us," she whispered suddenly, voice trembling. "If we try to be anything more, it will ruin everything. They'll come after you, after me. The world won't accept it." Her words carried the weight of reality, of enemies lurking in shadows, of family opposition, of a reputation built on violence and fear. To them, their bond was dangerous, impossible, even. He hesitated, then spoke softly. "Maybe it is dangerous," he admitted. "But some things are worth risking everything for." His gaze was steady, intense. "My enemies, my past, they're always waiting. But I've learned that some truths can't be hidden forever, and some risks are necessary." Her eyes searched his face, torn between hope and fear. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If anyone finds out, if they see us, everything will fall apart. My life, your life, nothing would be the same. It's too dangerous." He took another step closer, his voice almost a whisper. "And what's life without risking everything for what matters?" His words hung in the air, thick with unspoken promise and peril. They both knew that their fragile connection was on the brink of destruction, by their secrets, by the world's judgment, by their own fears. For her, the danger was clear, the impossible odds stacked against them, the world's condemnation. For him, the risk was even greater, his enemies, his reputation, the darkness he kept hidden. If they dared to pursue this, they would face a storm far beyond their understanding. As they stood together in that cold night, the unspoken truth settled between them. For their love to survive, they would have to confront monsters that lurked in shadows. And perhaps, in the end, the greatest danger was not just the world's opposition but the possibility that they might lose themselves in the process. If you're captivated by this story of forbidden love and dangerous secrets, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and comment below where you're watching from. Because sometimes, the most forbidden love is the one that can change everything, if it's brave enough to survive the darkness. The night deepened, wrapping the alley in shadows, but neither of them moved away. The air between them grew thick with unspoken tension, a fragile thread pulling them closer despite the danger that loomed. She looked at him, her heart pounding, feeling the weight of her pain, the trembling in her limbs, yet also sensing something stirring beneath his cold exterior. In that quiet, intimate moment, their eyes met, and neither looked away. That gaze, full of shared understanding and unspoken longing, was a silent confession, a temptation neither dared to fully acknowledge, yet couldn't resist. He took a slow step forward, the distance between them shrinking. His eyes flickered with a mixture of concern and something more daring, an ember of desire that refused to be snuffed out by fear. Her breath hitched as she watched him, her vulnerability making her want to reach out, to touch him, even if just for a moment. She saw the faint tremor in his jaw, the way he clenched his fists, trying to hold himself back. But his eyes betrayed him, they lingered on her face, hungry and hesitant. Without thinking, she moved closer, her hand trembling as she brushed a stray strand of dirt-caked hair from her face. Their shoulders almost touched, and in that fleeting contact, a jolt of electricity shot through her. Her heart fluttered wildly, knowing the risks but unable to stop herself. She felt the warmth of his presence, a stark contrast to the cold night and her battered body, and for a moment, all the pain faded into the background. It was just them, two souls caught in a forbidden moment, caught between danger and desire. He reached out, gently brushing her trembling hand, a gesture so tender it almost broke her. Her breath caught, and she wondered if he could feel her heartbeat pounding against her ribs. Every second stretched, heavy with anticipation. The world outside, the rules, the danger, the impossible odds, they all faded into insignificance. Because in that instant, love against all odds had found a way to bloom. His hand lingered on hers, and he hesitated, as if fighting a battle within himself. But then, slowly, he closed the gap, leaning in just enough to brush his lips lightly against her forehead, a fleeting, almost reverent gesture. Her eyes fluttered shut, tears prickling at the corners, overwhelmed by the intensity of that stolen moment. It was a kiss without words, a silent promise that despite everything, the risks, the rules, they couldn't deny what they felt. She opened her eyes, searching his face, and saw the vulnerability hidden beneath his mask of power. She recognized the same longing in his gaze that she felt in her own chest, a desperate hope that love could somehow survive the chaos surrounding them. In that fragile connection, they found a rare sanctuary, a place where rules and fears did not matter. Just two hearts beating fiercely, daring to dream of a future where love might defy the impossible. Despite the danger hanging over them, they couldn't pull apart. Their closeness became an act of rebellion, a silent declaration that nothing could silence what had begun to bloom between them. Even knowing the risk, even knowing that love like theirs was forbidden, they surrendered to the feeling. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories are born from breaking all the rules, from risking everything for a fleeting moment of pure truth. In a world that told them they couldn't, they chose to believe in what their hearts screamed: love against all odds, love that refused to be silenced. And as they stood there, wrapped in each other's warmth, the night bore witness to a love that was fierce, reckless, and impossible to forget. If you're captivated by this story of love defying all rules, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and comment below where you're watching from. Because sometimes, the most forbidden love is the one that sets the world on fire. The night shattered like glass when the explosion tore through the alley, sending debris and smoke billowing into the sky. The deafening blast echoed the chaos that had suddenly erupted between them, shattering the fragile moment they had shared. In the aftermath, screams and shouts filled the air as masked figures emerged from the shadows, traitors, enemies, those who had been lurking in the darkness all along. It was betrayal incarnate. She staggered back, clutching her side, blood seeping through her torn clothes. Her eyes widened in terror as she saw him, the mafia boss, fighting off attackers, his jaw clenched tight, his eyes blazing with rage and regret. Amidst the chaos, she heard a voice, cold, calculated, threatening. It was the one person who could ruin everything, who had been hiding behind a false smile all along. A secret revealed, his greatest vulnerability exposed, something that could destroy him, and her, in an instant. He hesitated for a moment, torn between fighting for his life and protecting her. But the betrayal had come from within, someone he trusted, someone he had considered an ally. That betrayal had fueled the explosion, the attack, and now threatened to tear apart their fragile connection. The truth was out, a blackmail scheme, a dangerous secret about his past that could topple his empire, and her reputation along with it. Her heart pounded with the realization that their love was under siege, caught in a storm of treachery and violence. He grabbed her hand, pulling her behind a crumbling wall, shielding her from the chaos. "Run!" he commanded, voice strained but resolute. "Get out of here! I'll handle this!" But she refused to leave him, trembling with fear and resolve. "No," she whispered fiercely. "I'm not leaving you. I'm with you, no matter what." Her words, raw and desperate, pierced through the smoke. She knew what was at stake: her life, his power, their future. But she was willing to sacrifice everything to stand by his side, to prove her loyalty, her love. He looked at her, his face a mask of conflict. The weight of his empire, his power, pressed down on him. Giving up everything wasn't just a matter of courage, it was survival. Yet, in her unwavering gaze, he saw something more, a spark that ignited a fierce determination within him. Could he abandon his throne, his empire, for her? Would love be enough to make that choice? The stakes had never been higher. He clenched his fists, torn between the darkness of his world and the light she represented. "I can't keep you safe if I keep clinging to this," he finally said, voice hoarse. "If I give up everything, I might lose my life. But if I stay, if I fight, there's a chance I can protect you, and maybe, just maybe, we can find a way out of this mess." His eyes searched hers, pleading silently for her trust. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but unwavering. "I believe in us. I believe in you. I'm willing to stand by your side through everything. Whatever it takes, I'll face it with you." Her declaration was a testament to her courage, a promise that no secret, no betrayal, no attack could break the bond they shared. He took her hands in his, feeling the trembling warmth of her touch. And in that moment, amid the chaos and danger, he made a choice. To fight, not just for himself, but for her. To face the darkness head on, even if it meant risking everything. Because love, he realized, was the greatest power of all, more potent than any secret, more enduring than any betrayal. As the enemies closed in, he pulled her into his arms, whispering, "We'll survive this. Together." And with that, they prepared to face whatever hell was coming, knowing that love, fierce, reckless, and unyielding, was their greatest armor. The rain poured down in relentless sheets as the night reached its boiling point. Shadows danced across the alley, flickering with the flickering flames of burning tires and distant gunfire. The air was thick with smoke, fear, and the scent of betrayal. He stood at the edge of the chaos, his fists clenched, eyes burning with determination. She, battered and bloodied, was crumpled against the wall, her breath ragged, yet her gaze never left him. Their forbidden love had brought them to this moment, one last stand against the enemies who sought to tear them apart, to destroy what little they had left. Suddenly, from the shadows emerged the traitor, the man he once trusted, his face twisted with hatred. His voice rang out cold and cruel. "You thought you could hide your secrets forever? Your love is a weakness, boss. It's time to end this, permanently." He drew a gun, fingers tightening on the trigger, aiming directly at her trembling figure. Time seemed to slow. The crowd of enemies encircling them was closing in, their shouts echoing through the alley. The boss's mind raced. He could see her, her eyes pleading for him to do something, to fight for what they believed in. He knew that this was the moment, either they fought together or they lost everything forever. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, pushing her behind him. "No!" he commanded fiercely, voice trembling yet resolute. "Not this time. Not her." His voice echoed with a raw, unwavering strength, as he faced the traitor head-on. "If you want me, you'll have to go through me first." She looked at him, tears streaming down her face, knowing that he was risking everything, his power, his life, their future. She grasped his arm desperately. We're stronger together, she whispered, voice barely audible over the chaos. You and me, this love, nothing and no one can take that away. The traitor sneered. Love? That's what's brought you here, to your ruin. But it ends now. He fired. The gunshot echoed like a thunderclap, but instead of hitting her, the boss threw himself in front, the bullet grazing his side. Pain shot through him, but he kept standing. His eyes locked onto hers, filled with both agony and fierce determination. If I die today, he said through clenched teeth, it'll be fighting for us. For our love. For what they can't take away. She screamed his name, rushing forward, but he raised his hand to stop her. Go, he commanded, voice strained but commanding. Run. Get out of here. I won't let them take me, not without a fight, and not without proving I'd rather die than lose you. She hesitated for a moment, knowing this was the ultimate act of sacrifice. But her heart refused to abandon him. With trembling hands, she reached into her coat, pulling out a small, hidden object, something she'd kept for this very moment. She pressed it into his palm. A note. A promise. A symbol of her unwavering devotion. Fight for us, she whispered fiercely. Show them that love is stronger than power, than betrayal, than death itself. He looked at her, the fire in his eyes reigniting. With a nod, he turned back to face the enemies, raising his fists, ready for the final showdown. You want a fight? He roared. You'll get one. But this isn't just about power. It's about love. And I'll die fighting for it. Together they stood, one fighting for survival, the other fighting for love, against all odds, against all rules. The crowd closed in, gunfire erupted again, but in that moment, their hearts beat as one. Their love was a defiant flame, burning fiercely in the storm of chaos, refusing to be extinguished. In the end, whether they lived or died, they proved one thing: love, forbidden and fierce, was the ultimate challenge, a battle worth fighting for. And as the night swallowed them into its darkness, the world knew that their love had fought not just for survival, but for the right to exist against all odds. The rain had finally stopped, leaving behind a world washed clean but heavy with memories. The alley was quiet now, the chaos settled into an eerie silence. He stood there, battered and exhausted, staring at her, her fragile figure trembling but alive. The look in his eyes was no longer the fierce, ruthless mafia boss who commanded fear and respect. Instead, it was a reflection of something deeper, a man who had faced the darkness and found his way out. She, the poor homeless woman who had risked everything to show him love, looked up at him with hope shimmering in her eyes. It's over, she whispered softly, her voice trembling but filled with new strength. We're free. His gaze met hers, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. The dangerous life he had built, the empire of crime and fear, suddenly felt like a distant memory, a chapter he was ready to close forever. With a heavy breath, he took a step closer, reaching out to her. I'm done with that world, he finally said, voice filled with conviction. I want a new beginning, with you. No more violence, no more fear. Just us, building something real. Her eyes welled with tears, but this time, they were tears of hope. We can do it, she whispered. Together, we can create a different life. One where love is stronger than power, where fear can't touch us anymore. In that moment, he made a choice that would change everything. He turned his back on the dangerous empire, on the violence and betrayal that had defined him for so long. He knew it wouldn't be easy. Leaving behind a lifetime of crime meant risking everything. But love had given him a new purpose, a reason to fight for a future he never dared to imagine. She, too, began rebuilding her life. With his support, she found work, a small apartment, and a sense of belonging she'd never known. Every day was a step forward, a testament to their courage and love. Together, they faced the unknown with hope in their hearts, knowing that love had conquered fear. That love had given them strength to start over, to believe in the possibility of happiness beyond the shadows of their past. And as they stood hand in hand, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and pink, they knew that their story was just beginning. A story of redemption, of second chances, and of love that dared to defy all odds. Their journey was a testament to the power of love, how it can transform lives, erase fears, and open doors to a future filled with hope. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they had each other now, and that was all they needed. The past was behind them, and ahead was a horizon full of promise. Love had conquered their fears, and together they stepped into the light, ready to face whatever the future held. Their love was a beacon in the darkness, a reminder that sometimes, the greatest strength lies in letting go and choosing hope. If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe for more inspiring tales, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because love, after all, is the most powerful force of all.